A video right then, and hackers were controlling my iPad, making my camera. I logged out of it, right, quickly, and they were trying to log in to my account, right? So I've disconnected my iPad that shows the vulnerability of systems. Why is crazy? Why was I attacked? Who attacked me just now? I've never had my, my computer compromised. It's because of the threat I'm posing, or are they just saying hello? I don't know. But that was super crazy. I've never experienced that. And I don't know how the end of the video of my last video is going to show up. But now I'm on my Japanese iPhone and see if this is an old iPhone 7 and see how the integrity is. And I'm going to continue my talk until I get hacked again. But let's just put this up here. I'm just going to put this up here and balance this if I can and continue my talk. All right. So I'm talking about the Ganj token, right? How it's going to work. It's going to model after Bitcoin, and ultimately how it is unstoppable, and how literally tens of millions of tokens, they're not coins, tokens are going to be released. These tokens ultimately are going to gain value like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not based on anything other than the security system that it has in the sense of the hash power. All right. And all of a sudden, if you imagine, millions of individuals out there who have their own soap, have their own product, who basically are community, these individuals are building community, right? Then you have to, I'm building basically the first community here, which is, which is the Ganj token. Hold on, I got to turn this on, turn it on. Right, and I got to put gloves on. that was so crazy, and I'm wondering if they'll come back and visit me again. But turning off my iPad, they're in my iPad. I have hackers in my iPad. I need to call Apple support and figure out how they got into my iPad and what they're using or what potential app I downloaded. There's a vulnerability. So I mean, that's our problem with our centralized system, right? We have systems that are vulnerable to hacks, and I just witnessed it. And basically, they closed down my video. Then they opened up Amazon, right? Amazon Prime. I logged out of my iPad, and then they're trying to log in, right? I saw my code logging in, so then I basically turn off. So if anyone attacks, you have to turn off that device. So since my iPad is on the network, right, then obviously it's not attacking through the Wi-Fi, but actually I'm on it is the only thing. So there's some sort of vulnerability. So if they can get in on my iPad, then ultimately they can get in, on anything. So talking about the token, the token, at the point where I close down. So how does the found up token work? All right, it's ubiquitous in the sense that it works on any blockchain, and ultimately, what happens is the tokens work just like Bitcoin. There's only going to be so many tokens based on how you set up your token, and you can set up your token and the token's only going to last 10 years. And why? Because Bitcoin modeled after that way. Right? So in our system, there's only UnDao's and do's, right? The uns are the consumers. If the consumer, right, purchases my ganj, right, then ultimately there's value. If the uns will buy into your product, and the flea market is full of found ups. Go out into your community. Your community is full, and the whole vision, the whole point of found ups is to empower these individuals to basically bring down Wall Street, to bring down the capitalism in the sense of replacing it and make it different. The reason why I'm sharing this is something happens to me, the work can still happen. And the fact that my computer was just attacked tells me that I've got people's attention. All of a sudden, people are paying attention at me, which have significant power. People who don't want a decentralized world. So interesting. Really, really interesting. So the framework was really simple. Ultimately, the tokens drop into a pool. The consumer, the purchases and creates the activation. Now, in the earlier version of the app, only the creators, you can only get the token from what? The creator. The creator is the person who's making, for example, this product, right? So I'm making the ganj, so the ganj token here. So here I am putting in the ganj. This is CBD hemp. This is not THC, this is CBD. And as of last year, it's legal in Florida for us to use it. I got into it, as I was telling my story before, because my father had cancer and I got him CBD for it. And then it miraculously cured my herniated disc that I have evidence. And they wanted to operate on it. And I'm like, no. And I'm not really for that. So 750, that's right, that's nice. And so this is it. So here's the product. So now when an on purchases my, this is Super Haze, when they purchase the Super Haze, then basically now they're going to share. Now imagine, based on your purchase amount in that 1 hour is the amount of the pool, the 80% that you're going to share. Now what happens to the other 20% of the token, right? So remember, it's 20-80. 20% is going to the network. I'm going to talk about that in a second on the pool. 80% goes to the CCC, the consumers, the collaborators, and the creator, right, on it. So of that 80%, 80% goes to the consumer, right? The next 20% goes to the collaborator and the creator. 80% of that 20% goes to who? The collaborator, the store, the partner, the hemp grower, right? And finally, the 20% of that will go to the creator. As a creator, we really don't care about tokens, right? As a creator, what we care about is ultimately getting our product out there. The token becomes a way for us to work with our community and other creators, and I'll explain why. Imagine I have a competition. I got Earl, he makes his soap, and I make my soap, and we've been competing for years, right? Where there's, like, for example, at the flea market I go to, there's only 2 vendors per area. So I have the CBD flower here, right? So only one other vendor. They're very, other flea markets don't really care as much, right? But a lot of them have this rule. And what it means is, but what happens when I swap, right? We do a swap, and I give an equal amount of my tokens based on the division that it's in, right? So obviously it will figure out based on the value, the traction, and all this is done by the algorithm and AI that's tracking the data, right? And all of this then is created in how much tokens. And let's say I get 50% of his creator tokens because we're the same. We're both Division 7 found ups, right? We're worth nothing. There's no value to the token, just as there was no value for the first 2 years of Bitcoin, right? There was no value. Bitcoin didn't just all of a sudden jump up. No, it took the uns to, and more specifically, the DAOs, which are the early adapters. These are the creators and the early adapters, right? They're the collaborators to actually build the network, and by them becoming miners and so on. Well, the same thing will be applied to found ups in a sense, though. But you're not looking at found ups as as a thing which just has a network integrity. It actually has, hold on, it actually has a product behind it. So let's see here, 6, hold on, I'm just trying to get this done. I got to get these done. So I got to work and talk, and come on. Boom. All right. Put a little thing in here, or here. This is my first found up hemp. All right. So okay, making sure that's in there. Actually, what I'm going to do is a bunch of samples now. These little samples, instead of giving out, these are samples. Right. I'll just turn that off, turn that on. So these are 1 gram. Right. So I just put I want this to be 1 gram, so I'm gonna make a bunch of these. I can't see so well. 0.8. Well, it's 0.8. It's under a gram, but that's good. All right, and then these are the little samples. So now I'm doing these little samples. So, you know, these I sell, they're like under a gram. So I'm selling these for $2, right? So my return, I'm just doing the math, these are $2 and they sell for $5. They're making $3 on each one they sell. I'm making $2. You know, my cost per gram is like, you know, $300, right? So do the math. The return on this, cost is $300, right? Or for a pound, I'm sorry, kilo, right? I'm paying, not a pound. What do per kilo? Actually, I've got to do the math on that. Anyway, I'll do the math, figure out what my return is. I'm not good at math. So anyone can ultimately do a CBD flower, right? Business on it. So talking about the tokenization, I wonder if it was the, I wonder if Hal Finney, right, was, because he's with the, you know, he was with the NSA, and all of a sudden my device gets attacked. God, the conspiracies now are just like, woo, what's going on here? So that's just crazy. This is crazy, crazy, right? So I want at least 0.8. This is half a gram. All right, on there. Yeah, it's nearly a gram. All right, on there. So, and I had one viewer. That's crazy. So ultimately, the Ganj token becomes, you know, the foundation, right? The CBD. There's no THC in my Ganj, right? Becomes the model. That's too much. I can actually do over a freaking gram in there. Yeah, so they're grams. Yeah. All right, so I've talked about the consumer, the collaborator, the creator. They're sharing 80%. Who's a collaborator? Okay, let's talk about that real quick. Collaborators can be the stores that carry it. Collaborators could be the farmers that help make it, that produce, you know, that's producing the you know, the product. And the cool thing is that as a creator, I can go to a collaborator and say, listen, I want to make you a collaborator of my Ganj token, right? And ultimately then what they can do, all right, is give me a discount. So if I can get, you know, yeah, 1.7, right? If I can get the collaborators, right, involved, then I'm getting the product less, and they're also benefiting. So so think about it. You're growing this hemp, right? You're selling it off. You have no long-term, you know, return on it, other than the common price that you know that you're selling it for. All of a sudden now you're part of a found up. You are actually now getting creating what's kind of like a UBI. Think of the found up token as a UBI, right? That Andrew Yang, and that found up token ultimately is going to gain in value. So what happens for your collaboration? You give a 20% discount, 25% discount. All of a sudden you have this UBI that matures in 10 years. And when it matures in 10 years, right, then ultimately, you know, you retire. You retire your farm. You give it over. You give it to someone else. So imagine, like, you know, so what I'm going to do, my role is just to launch found ups, is to help people launch found ups. My job is to travel the world and help people launch. And the tokenization system becomes the mechanism for doing that. So let's talk about the network. So the network works very much what's known as an airdrop. The airdrop, so every time a consumer purchases, it creates the the algorithm. This is, did it really? It creates proof of purchase, right? The proof of purchase algorithm happens, and then what happens is the coins are shared. It then looks at who's buying. It may ask the question: are there bots? Are these all legit? Are they real accounts? Right? So it does a KYC handshake with all the people downloading, and if that's okay, then it distributes it. Now, the other thing is the network, and you're going to love the network. The way the network works is this: is that 80% of that network fee does what? It goes to everyone that has and scanned the Ganj token. If you don't have the token in your wallet, you ultimately do not get the drop. So how do you get the token? You physically have to find it. You have to get off of your chair, get off of your iPad, and go to like a flea market or a craft show and meet the creators that are basically creating the token, right? Meet the creators that are ultimately tokenizing their product as a kind of UBI that allows anyone to, participate and, and get their product. So what happens? And 80% is an airdrop, okay? The other 20%, 80-20, goes to where? Right here. It goes to the Bitcoin Global Reserve Fund, and I'm going to talk about that. The Bitcoin Global Reserve Fund is the chicken that ultimately lays the danos, all right? The chicken and the egg. The whole idea is, how do we replace Wall Street? The whole point of the blockchain, right, is to replace Wall Street and Silicon Valley and our business model that ultimately is this insatiable agent that's devouring and devouring and devouring our finite planet. So we, now what did I do with my bud? So that has been, and I realized in 2009 I couldn't go there and, I couldn't go there and get them to change Silicon Valley, right? So basically what I had to do was invent a whole new framework for replacing Silicon Valley, and that is the Found Up. That replaces the startup. Because it's really simple. If you replace the startup, that ultimately levels up and becomes the corporation, right? If you replace the startup, you change everything. Capitalism hinges on one thing, and that is the startup. Wall Street hinges on one thing, and that is the startup, right? Silicon Valley hinges on one thing, and that is the startup. Our entire global economy hinges on one thing. They're attacking again, right? Oh, maybe because I unplugged my Wi-Fi. I'm like, I'm being attacked. So if they're gonna attack, I'm gonna let the attackers attack the Wi-Fi network, right? Not the Wi-Fi, but the cellular network, because I'm on cellular network right now. I just heard Google Voice saying, hey, you don't have Wi-Fi. So it's interesting that Google Voice is talking to me. Why does Google Voice care I have Wi-Fi? You heard that, right? So I've cut the house off. There is no Wi-Fi coming into this house because I'm vulnerable. So there's no point. If I'm being attacked on Wi-Fi, then go on 3G. On 3G, they have to attack the Google network in order to get me. So I'm not going to open myself to be vulnerable. I'm obviously being attacked, right? I know a hack when I see it. When your iPad, basically, they start communicating, moving they start manipulating my video, and then they close it down and they open up, right? Then they open up Amazon, So then I log out of my iPad, and then I'm seeing them trying to log in, like and it looked like, it was weird because it didn't look like, it looked more like autonomous, right? It could be, it could be AI, maybe AI. I mean, the NSA has AI. You have to understand, the AI that runs the NSA, the quantum computing, you can think of this, the AI recognizes and sees and understands what I'm doing. The singularity may exist, and we may have just witnessed the first attack of the singularity against the anti-singularity, right here, who is ushering in obey. We may have just seen the first move of them moving against me because of the reality of the vision that I have is unstoppable, and it knows, right? And the people in control, it sees a threat. It sees the whole economic system being closed down, right, on it. Watch the ATF's going to be running in here. See, like on here. So I am getting my on this here. All right, this is here. So the real value, I'm doing some of these, I'm going to do a lot of these today. All right. So let's continuing on here. All right. I wonder if these are all the same. So 20%, we're talking about the network, right? So found ups 80-20. 80% goes to the stakeholders. The stakeholders are who? The collaborators. The consumers, the collaborators, and the creators, right? CCCs, the CCCs, right? Those individuals that help build these next Burt Bees, who helps build Found Ups Hemp into a global brand, right? Found Ups Hemp that anyone can launch, that will be tied together with a token. So all these decentralized brands that are not owned by any corporation, not owned by any of the man, ultimately these tokens are going to be available, right, to to individuals. And all right, on there. Down here. The 20% of that is going here. So one of the problems that I've been trying to solve, and it was right here staring at me on the 5,200-year-old mind zodiac prophecy, is how does Bitcoin go from the network into Bitcoin global reserve funds that will ultimately underwrite what's coming next after that, which is the UPS token. And the UPS token ultimately is one that, will, in a way, keep the Bitcoin network going, because the network is getting, the cost of the token has to go up because of the cost of running the network, right? So if people want to keep, and here's the deal, they've already created the sophistication. So for those in power, for those that have who are investing, so much into into the network. 98. So these are all grams, right? Keep it up. The only way, as the halving happens, it really forces the value of the tokens up. So so let me explain that again. So the Bitcoin network ultimately is, and all those that are keeping the network going, from the exchanges, the miners, all of that. Okay, this is something. I'm going to use this here. All of that is basically maintaining the cost. I actually want to wrap this up so I don't lose. And eventually, what's going to happen is that whole mining network that's consuming all of the power is going to go away. And I'll explain how. So the wallet, the Bitcoin wallet that you're going to get as that we're launching, ultimately is um, is going to support all the blockchains. So mining, proof of stake, all this other thing. So as you build out the Obey, it's like right now you can run a network support node where you don't get any Bitcoin, but you support the node. Well, imagine everyone that has our, who's downloading, getting our token, right? And it's a ubiquitous token, so it can be on any network. So you're going to have a version that's on the Dogecoin, the version that's on Ethereum, and so on and so on and so on. Or all their app is supporting that network, right? So that network is even more secure. And not only that, okay, they will be earning for doing this. This is an option. They can actually earn ups for applying more hash power, more rate, and the ups reward for people that's going to run Obey. So I want to talk about Obey a little bit, okay? Because Obey ultimately is our beneficial, open, beneficial AI. So we have right now, there is a battle going on against AI, well, not going on. There's an AI war. Everyone's trying to build AI, right? And obviously, what I witnessed this morning, maybe AI already exists, because what I saw, I mean, I've never had what happened this morning. Never, right? I've never had a broadcast that was shut off because it was being hacked. And that wasn't a glitch. That was intervention in my talk. And that's why I'm now on my iPhone talking, because this is Japanese. So for them to attack this network, right, they're actually attacking the Japanese government. So come on, hack away, hack. I'm still here. I'm still broadcasting, right? So ultimately, Obey is coming. And there is an AI war coming. And this AI war is their AI against our Obey. Obey, you know, stands for open beneficial AI, but ultimately it stands for obey you, obey me. So I want you to imagine a system where the AI, this super brain, this super AI, ultimately holds each and every one of us as important as the president, as important, right? The president is no different. Every creature, every individual, every plant ultimately has the support of an AI and has AI monitoring it, right? So the plant species probably would be just one computer, right? Wouldn't need to have multiple ones. The animal, right? We know how many animals are. We can have AI cameras monitoring, right? Imagine if AI could vote for, you know, for the endangered species and say, no, this development is going to affect me, right? And, you know, and it may be block vote for it. Why should we be held more special, right? We should now be conscious. And the thing is, we can measure these intangibles. Measuring these intangibles is now doable, right? And, you know, so, and we will. And Obey treats everyone the same. So if you imagine, and everyone has one vote, right? You know, and we have to live in balance. We have to live in harmony. We have to basically, you know, be one with the planet. So the only way to do that is by removing human interface, and that human interface is the politician. We've just witnessed basically the largest scam in American history, orchestrated by a Senate who is now showing to be criminally indictable, right? All these individuals from his, you know, from the president, his chief, his vice president, his attorney general, all are complicit in this crime against democracy, a crime against us, which 75% of Americans wanted to hear the truth. And yet, they did a cover up. They basically figured that we as American people are not awoke. If this was in any other country, they would be rioting on the streets. 75% of Americans would be out there protesting the fact that they wouldn't have it. But they have us so indoctrinated that we don't. So, you know, we've lost our kind of our cojones, right? It should be Occupy DC. It should be the Congress. There should be millions of people out there right now going out, you know, Occupy Congress, you know, for their betrayal of, you know, the American people, right? Anyway, so, but it doesn't matter because FoundUps is unstoppable, as I'm describing to you, And basically, all right, so the network. So the airdrop. So all token, if you have the token, and here's the whole thing about Founders is you want to create communities. The whole thing about the tokenization system that I'm introducing and sharing is that it creates community. Because you can't get the Ganj token unless you meet me as the creator, right? You can't get the, how you doing, watching? You can't get the Ganj token unless you meet the creator, and I'll pull up a scan and you can ultimately get it. So on that. And the other 20%, it goes to the network. And the network goes to the Bitcoin Global Reserve Fund. And what does the Bitcoin Global Reserve Fund do? Well, basically, it just keeps buying Satoshi. It keeps buying Satoshi. When a found up token, right, levels up and becomes a Division 3 token, basically it's worth in the hundreds of dollars. When a token reaches the value of 100 to 1,000, actually that's Division 2, 1,000 to 10,000. All right, no, yeah. When it reaches the value of 100, the open beneficial AI starts to make that token available. At that time, people can get the token. It still has growth. It's still in what's known as the innovation stage, right? It's not in the early adoption stage. It's still in the innovation stage. So when it reaches it basically crosses the 2.5% market diffusion. So you can think of division 7 is really from 0 to somewhere close to, let's say, 2%, right? 2%. At 2.5%, right, from 2% to 2.5%, it becomes a Division 2 token, right? And at Division 3 is at 2.5%. So I'm basically why is this not working? I need to get the I need to get the charger. My phone needs charging. I was like, why is this charging? It's like my iPad needs charging, but no, it's the phone. All right. All right, let's get this back. Let's get this over here. Sorry about that. I'm just trying to get my phone. Oh, shit. Won't reach. Okay. Why won't you reach? There it goes. All right. All right, I'm back. UnDaoDu. I'm back. So I'm weighing up my CBD flower for my FoundUps Ganj token. That is the test token. So you think a Ganj is going to unravel everything. So, wow, I've been talking for 30 minutes. All right. So I'm going to now broadcast on a different channel. All right.